Let me go across to Kapil Sankhla, who's also joining us live. Mr. Sankhla, we're seeing the Delhi riots hearing go on in the case. We're seeing Mr. Dave make detailed arguments about how there are not FIRs filed many. There are some FIRs I'm facing for speeches. He's appearing for Sharjeel Imam. He's saying there are some FIRs in Nagaland. But I really want to ask you the question on what the Delhi police has said. They've said that this is not only about Takka Jam that was trying to be achieved by a Sharjeel Imam or Umar Khalid, but the larger regime change that they wanted. A sinister, dangerous design that was trying to target the integrity and the sovereignty of the country. It is no afterthought, therefore, that the Delhi police continues to tell the Supreme Court none of these accused should be given bail.
Well, they say Raman had 100 heads. In this case, the devil has 100 arms. What's basically happened in a larger conspiracy case is that there are various factions doing different things. On the face of it, they're all disconnected, they're all disjointed, and they could be on various issues at various places, perhaps by people who do not even know each other. But the game in larger conspiracy is that there is a puppet master on the top who's controlling all of them. The timing is controlled, the kind of narrative is controlled, how the narrative is going to be leaked to the media is going to be controlled, how the international players are going to perhaps benefit from that is also controlled. And that is the whole purpose and the whole modus operandi of a larger conspiracy matter. Now, this is in itself a learning point on how a standard operating procedure was created in the larger conspiracy matter. And the conspiracy wasn't just about CAA or about a particular faction or about a particular religion. It was about destabilizing the government and destabilizing the regime that is there as the government, as a nation, and perhaps bringing our nation forward. So the game was very, very clear to destabilize the government, to have a regime change, perhaps have their own people, perhaps have a weaker government, I do not know. But the whole idea here was that there were certain people making the kind of speeches in various parts at certain times so that they get highlighted by international media. And perhaps there were international players who were their masters, their puppet masters who were doing this. So the affidavit is very interesting in itself and very scary, because you kind of get to know that there were various narratives which on the face of it you would say, oh, it's all right. Whatever he's saying, there's the right to say whatever he wants to. But now you get to know under what circumstances and why and at whose behest, and what were the wires that were connecting to somebody else, and why at a certain stage where some international politician is coming, where we are going to tie up for something and things like those. So those kind of statements made on affidavit disclosing that kind of conspiracy shows two things. One, our nation is going forward. This regime must be doing something right. Because that's the only reason why the people who do not like our country want to destroy our country. And the second, that there are various players who perhaps did not even know that they are being played, and played by the kind of people whose name have been given. And there could be masters on top of that. There could be national level players in India. There could be international players abroad. That all is a part of investigation. But please see at this moment that we need to be very, very careful with the kind of narrative that we hear. There are a lot of naysayers who would say anything at all against either the government or whatever is happening in India or whatever our tie-up is in the international scenario. And we now have to see that are these people as innocent as they claim to be, or are they a part of conspiracy, knowingly or unknowingly? Playing at the hands of their masters or their master or puppet masters, etc., etc. So an affidavit made before the court has binding power. So therefore, whatever has been stated in the affidavit is sacrosanct. Otherwise, the repercussions are quite serious. And the kind of facts that have been disclosed are scary at the very least, even for us as lawyers, because we are defense lawyers. We go to the court and we bring forth a particular narrative. But to see that the narrative is beyond comprehension, that the narrative is much larger than just these people who give speeches and say, oh, we have the right to say whatever we want to, freedom of speech. Now we get to know that those speeches are being made not, with the holiness in their heart, with all the honesty of a belief system, but because they have been paid or they have been played. And we really do not know what the puppet masters are. But those are the very people who do not like our country, who do not like our nation, who do not like the peace here, who do not want stability and therefore are looking for regime change.
I completely agree with you. And I also think, Kapil Sankla, as you're trying to say, that Sharjeel Imam today, right now, just a few minutes ago, made a statement through his client Siddharth Dave, through his counsel Siddharth Dave, when they're asking the court, how many FIRs even in Nagaland am I going to face because of my speeches? Those speeches were so sinister and dangerous, like you rightly said, in their design, when they spoke about bottleneck and chicken neck and trying to speak about Assam and other places in India and trying to say they should be targeted. And then he speaks about Chakka Jam. So the Supreme Court asked a question to Siddharth Dave as to what was it those speeches were about. And Siddharth Dave said they were about Chakka Jam. Now, the Delhi police in its affidavit has very clearly pointed out two things. One, Sharjeel Imam was the mastermind of the Delhi riots case. Secondly, they have shown his signatures in the chart sheets and in other places where they are showing he was a part of core committee meetings. Not only core committee meetings, but core committee meetings that also wanted to rope in very sinister people such as the PFI and other such people. So it's Popular Front of India, such as this being the role that was being played by these dangerous people. They can't now come to the Supreme Court and try and get the sympathy of the topmost court of the country.
You're absolutely right. And I completely agree with you. You see, there is a term that I read in the affidavit, which was, and that was argued, it was called, they were weaponizing protests. And that really got me thinking, because I have argued for various politicians over the years. And a lot of times I also get to know that what has been stated by them is not as innocent. And we are in the court trying to justify, slip of tongue, etc., etc. But that really got me thinking that when you say weaponizing protests, it is such an interesting term in itself. You see, a lot of times a politician would make a statement knowing that it would have far-reaching consequences and repercussions. But those are very, state-centric or area-centric, uh, not designed to destroy the peace and, of India per se. But here is a very interesting thing. Statements were made, terms were used. Let us say that there were certain secret codes that were exchanged. Those terms had been pre-decided. They were decided so that they could be used in Twitters and speeches and other people's speeches and could be misconstrued and misused. The idea being that all of that in a concerted effort in various places can be used. So to Mr. Imam, Sharjeel Imam's statement, there's something that I'd said on your channel years back, that your right stops where my nose begins. You have an absolute right to speech. But if it affects me, and if it affects me, then I have a right to stop you as well, or come and have a dialogue with you. Now, your statements were designed to affect negatively a certain faction, a certain segment, a certain state, and the nation itself. So therefore, the consequences were known to you. You kind of hoped that the democratic process would be slow, that you could perhaps use certain cards, that make some statements, perhaps grab some kind of sympathy, and get away with it. But it is not going to happen, because here is the prosecution and the investigating unit working concertedly to ensure that such kind of people are brought to book. They're punished for their deeds. And so knowing that they are going to be punished, he is, now having opened himself to the consequences, he is bound to face the consequences.
All right, absolutely, Kapil Sankla. And I also want to get you some breaking news coming in that the hearing is now going to continue on Monday, which is on 2nd of November. The senior advocates have been heard. The Supreme Court has said that we've heard the learned senior advocates, and for further hearing, it will be kept at top of the list on Monday. So possibly on Monday, Kapil Sankla, we shall also be hearing in the Delhi riots case ASG Raju, who shall be appearing for the Delhi police. This 389 detailed page affidavit, which is also giving out the earlier orders, shall also be heard in detail. I think it's going to be very crystal clear and important to understand what the Delhi police is trying to achieve here, because even one page that they have said where they say they wanted a regime change operation is so sinister, so dangerous. In another page where they say they wanted this to be pan-India, it is enough for them to the Supreme Court to not grant bail to these 5 accused, no matter how much clout they enjoy, no matter how many NGOs appear for them, no matter how much a sympathetic wave they're trying to achieve through trying to get some of the most elite names and lawyers in the country appear for them.
You're absolutely right. I agree with you here as well. You see, when you when somebody murders somebody, you're destroying a particular person's life or perhaps a family. When you cheat somebody, you defraud somebody, you're perhaps destroying a family as far as, or a certain segment of people who invested in you. But here is a person who decided to destroy the entire nation. The Honorable Supreme Court in cheating cases say that you've destroyed the fabric of the society. In violence cases, says that you've destroyed a family, and so bail should not be granted to you. Here is a person who decided to destroy the entire peace and the fabric of the nation. He perhaps even got away with it substantially, and now is using certain cards to get the benefit of the Supreme Court on the aspect of freedom of speech. I'm a politician, I have a particular right to say whatever I want to. But the question here is, what was the purpose? The Honorable Supreme Court, in certain cases where, there were cases where a certain person wore something and stated that I have a freedom to, wear whatever I want to, etc., etc. The Honorable Supreme Court, in certain cases, has said, yes, that's true, but for what purpose? I mean, it doesn't behoove you to wear something short or something skimpy in a religious area. What was the purpose? Was the purpose to, assert your fundamental right, or to create a controversy, or to make these statements that would create controversies, make these videos? It's in the same light. You do certain acts, you make certain speeches, all of those are connected with other people who are making similar kind of speeches. Make it at a time when that will get international exposure to destroy the goodwill, reputation of your country, and also to destroy the peace inside the country. So when you look at that and you say that these people have been funded from abroad, that these people had masters from abroad, that these people had an idea of regime change. A regime change is a very, very serious fact, which basically means that there is a certain person who
Yes,
perhaps
that's right.
is liked, wanted, or is doing activities in furtherance of the nation.
Absolutely.
And that person has to be removed. And that is a scary thought in itself.
Yes, you're absolutely right. And that's what we at Republic TV are also saying. As I toss it back to our studios, we're going to stay with this hearing on Monday. Thank you, Kapil Sankhla, for being with us. This is a big breaking news that we're going to stay with, because regime change is serious. We at Republic TV broke that affidavit. We tried to get you details of what was there. And on Monday, as Additional Solicitor General S.V. Raju begins these arguments, we'll get you the non-stop updates. First, right here.
Well, absolutely, Rhythm and Advocate Kapil, thank you both of you very much for joining us here and sharing all those updates. That continues to remain our top story. The hearing will continue on Monday. Ladies and gentlemen, that's all that we could talk about in this story.